Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake, Chat 2017. Ooh, have I had a productive day? First, doing many things that got me very, very much closer to much good that I didn't even expect I could access. So that's fantastic. And I got to spread cheer and have fun and be productive and do things and keep my promises. Little things like that. Patching and keeping going and doing better than before and all that stuff. So, I'm calling this The Prodigal Son and a Galactic Tale. And I think that it is sort of a summation of sorts, which doesn't mean that communication will cease. But this is after doing a very, very good and strenuous and honest piece that was over an hour, and I just vowed that I was never going to go over an hour unless the earth was shaking. Indeed, it was shaking. So then I decided that, channeling, they are really right here, and you can tell now by my eyes, because they kind of go dark in a way, in a good way, but I can see what Sam was saying, and at certain points only one's black and the other one's normal. It's so weird. So I think that it's and I don't think it's my pupils, and I don't, it's not what's going on. If it's unilateral, it's not what's going on. That's energetic. But it's kind of unnerving. Anyhow, I find it pleasant but unnerving. I think that I have a tale to tell, which weaves much sense into what I'm going to say as what I feel and as I have always felt. There are two things that I felt were true enough to live by and to try to attain. I found the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi too unattainable, too pure, and to do that I would love to practice at that level, but I would have to be surrounded by more purity. It really isn't. It wasn't the time. I couldn't have shown that bright. I did the best I could, so that was a prayer I couldn't do. The Lord's Prayer was always a comfort, so when I found it changed, it was sort of unnerving, because I went to it a lot, and it has a mathematical formula. On the way up to Lookout Mountain, they explain more about the mathematics. It's because the harmonics have changed. The Lord's Prayer is different. It was a mathematical, it was a frequency that was held within the words, and it was a mathematical thing, but it was also geometric, and it held power, and that power has shifted. And so the magnetism of it has broken apart a little bit, and it presents differently than it once did. It doesn't mean it's presenting evil. It's presenting differently. And that's the whole point of this transmission and discussion of the koan of the Prodigal Son. I think that it's important to look at oneself in relation to all of this. And it's been about 2 days of Searchlight. It's been 7 days of I've been getting the message over and over and over again, so I'm going to repeat it word for word. The light quotient has changed. It is done. It's over. They just keep saying it over and over again. It's over. It's over. The light quotient has changed the last 7 days. Over and over and over again. So there you go, gang. Aren't you feeling it? Aren't you knowing it? Are you feeling kind of looking glassy? What's real, what's not? I'm finding I'm having to set my agreements again. It's not that they're bleed-throughs of things I don't want, but I'm having to set my fields again, like I did in the 90s, when I realized I had fields I needed to maintain and be aware of and hold agreements for. And I just feel like that's gotten larger, and there's more responsibility for how I'm going to hold my consciousness, and therefore how I behave. And it's like, oh my God, really? Now I have to monitor that? Holy shit. I gotta monitor what I eat, what I drink, and what I say. Golly Moses, this used to be a ride. This used to be, I could have diarrhea of the frickin' mouth because I spent like, I don't know how many years. You must not disclose anything about yourself. You must be a sealed book. La 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 la. I mean, that's the code as a nurse. You don't go blabbing about yourself. It's nasty. Who wants to hear about that shit? You're the one who's sick and hurting in a bed. You don't want to hear some nurse going on about their personal life. It's just not done. It's selfish. Unless she's got a story that's going to knock your socks off. Ha! Unless she's going to say something that's going to make you see things so different, you're going to laugh out loud and see, maybe I'm not in the pickle I thought I was. Yeah, that was me. I was the head scratcher. I was the puzzler. I was the diffuser. I was the glue. But there was a change, and I want to talk about this parable because it's a big deal. And then we're going to talk about how everyone can have access to this. It's amazing. Oh my God. Now, I'm aware I'm tip of the spear, okay? Or maybe just highly confessional, or both. Hello. But the parable of the prodigal son stuck, and it held me together. The Lord's Prayer, the 23rd Psalm, this one passage about the rainbow. But it's not that. It's that weird my mom said that's the weirdest thing to be gravitating for, but that's what I would always go to. These two words about ending in shall not cease. Sunlight and heart was whatever, shall not cease. I would go there again and again. Now I know why. It was me reminding me, hey, everything's cool. Just will you stop panicking? Shall not cease. Everything's gonna be fine. It's in the bag, baby. But it took a lot of people coming in and saying, "Hey, this is how in the bag it is, and this is what's going on." And that's why I can kind of explain that I've lived my life as if I have koans. One of the biggest koans of my life, and I didn't realize how big, was that of self-care. And in the 80s, I realized, I sat down in meditation and I asked myself, because it was becoming harder and harder for me to hang with being nice to myself. I was being nasty to myself and not being very friendly to myself and just neglectful and poopy to myself. And it was just gross. And so I went into meditation and said, what the fuck is going on here? It feels really good when I've got clean clothes and everything's in order and everything's so cool. And all I saw was this brick wall. I've reported this only one time, I think. And a woman's face, a stern woman's face, not my mother's, but it was Mother. That's the message I got. And I really think, I mean, when you look at the parables of my life and stuff, it's like that. It's like this brick wall. And in the car, I got the message that not only is it over, it began to tickle me emotionally. I mean, obviously, there's no way to contain all of this emotionally. But, you know, I really resonate with what Cryon has to say about old souls and what we came to do. I mean, if you look at it in a certain light. And I really felt it emotionally, how, you know, for a really super long time, this is the stop and start, I think, for a super long time, for all time, because of this energy. You can hold a code, you can do your best, you can do the right thing by you. Sure, you may falter, But if you live by a code of that speaks to something that is above and beyond and far, it's just beautiful. You know, he said, you know, this is when you hold light, and I've been told this my whole life. My tarot reader, everybody, when you hold light, then you need to deal with dark, dear one. You're here to be a light in dark places. That's the job you sign up for. So just, you know, there you go. So that kind of was my training. And then I get to the teachers and they explain a few things. And this long-held, long-cherished, these admonitions, these articles of faith, these nuggets of truth that I held to be self-evident, that the meek shall inherit the earth. It soothed me when time and time again I wasn't picked, or I was last in line, or I got, you know, kind of bumped and bruised. It's like, you know, I know you need to be first. I know you think you're the smartest person. And I know you're in charge. But there's going to come a day when you'll know you're not the only one in the room. But it's not today. And oftentimes I was that nasty person. Okay? And that's what I had to come to terms with, the spotlight again. Ugh. Not liking myself. Ugh. Well, you know, I think that's more relational. It's like I really usually feel awfully good about life and about myself, and I just drive around in my car smiling and just being really happy. I mean, that's my natural state. What is there to be so upset about? I mean, you look big picture, things are going pretty good, right? Big picture. And then it begins. And there's the recriminations and the feelings of resentment and guilt and of not doing it right and of possible punishment and lack and all of the things that are just kind of icky. So you expect. If the main focus is what's going wrong and who is at fault and who is responsible and what's to be done, with, of course, you know, an added simmering on top of it, and it must be on time in triplicate. That kind of restrictive, we must play by these rules, these are the only rules, and that's that. And that is an authoritative state. And that's kind of what we're breaking out of as a humanity, as a consciousness, fear and anger, and where the focus is. The focus being harm. The focus being harm. That is how to crack this koan. That of the prodigal son. That's quite a run-up, ain't it? There's a man who's quite wealthy. He's got 2 kids. And he's kind of a permissive soul. And he's kind of into believing that his kids are going to be able to just manage just fine. And that he's given every advantage and they're blessed. And so he blesses them further by saying, hey, you guys, I'm not going to croak to have you come into some freedom. I'm granting you this amount of money. Do with it as you will. Bye. Do what you want. And one stays and tends to things and runs the business and is very diligent and follows all the rules, which are vast because, you know, that's quite the empire, man. that ain't no trick. That's the real deal. You gotta be at a very high level to hang with this guy. And it's very arduous. And then there's the one that just goes off the grid. Boop. And there are rumors. Oh my God, the rumors. And then yeah, the news is confirmed, and there's multiple witnesses, and it's like, damn. And I don't know if it's written into the Bible or if it was just bursting out of my head, but I thought, how wasteful. Oh, is he gonna get it? Oh my God. That was so rude. That's where my head was at. And I think that's the mindset we were in. It's seeing the authority, how we see the authority. Whether we're focusing on harm. Because, okay, so finally, this guy says, oh, you know what? I think actually, wasn't he called for? One way or the other. He shows up and says, hey, I'm back. And what happens? Well, where's your head? Do you expect punishment? Do you expect shame? Do you expect retribution? Do you expect a demand for the return of the money? Where's your head? Check your head. Because this is what happened. The father said, hey, my beloved. Oh, what a miracle. Get over here, you knucklehead. Is it all true? Come on. Hey, knock it off. Let's go eat. What does that other guy do? That throws a little bit of a temper tantrum. Says, God damn it. He didn't stay put. And you're throwing him a party? When I've devoted my life to you, I followed every single rule. It was the only thing I wanted to do was just to, get your approval. And here's the punchline. Here's the flip. Well, how could you think that you didn't have it? I mean, you got a bundle. Not only that, but you lived off the fat of the land. You got the best of everything, always. You're always, treated like a king. So I'm wondering what your problem is. Where's your head? Is that really what you think of me? Don't you know how loved you are? I'm sorry that I haven't told you how deeply respected you are. In my hidden and secret grief, perhaps I didn't say thank you enough for being a part of me. Now, can we go eat? I think that's how the koan's broken. I think that's the key to the shift. Going from an authoritative state of, hey, you're doing it wrong. Here, I'm going to hold a class and tell you how to do it right. Well, I'm thinking about doing that, but not to do that, just to say, hey, I'll bet you have a shit ton of questions. So here's what I'm going to do with my class. It's so fun. I love it. So everybody gets to, I notice when I do that when I'm, getting closer. Everybody gets to, everybody's invited to, and I did this at the beginning too, but I didn't articulate it well. Everybody gets to focus on one of their koans. One of the things that just is like they just can't quite figure out. It's like, what the fuck? And it could be whatever the what the fuck thing in your life is. And I think that's how I'm going to post it, so people get a hint that it's going to be a real person talking really deep. All right, and you write, and so you get to come in and you get to write down your what the fuck thing. Just something that's really stumping you, that you just wish that you understood, that's breaking your heart or aching you in your mind or hurting in your body, or you just don't feel right, or you have a question and you just don't understand. Don't you have something like that? One or two. Well, do you want to be stripped in front of the world and explain it? Not me. Thank you very much. In fact, if I was invited to share it, I would veil it. I'd make sure it was not quite bare bone. We want to know why, because it's hard to face the truth. That's all. It's just hard to face the truth. It's just easier to dress it up and make it dance. And so this parable, I think, really talks to where we are at as a people. Whether we're going to be judgmental, and whether we're going to expect harm, and whether we're going to deliver harm. Oh my! But do you notice no harm was done? And yet in the mind of the person who was actually benefited, they felt harmed. Oh, poor baby. Oh, isn't that a big misunderstanding? And there it is, sitting there in the Bible. Ta-da! So now a galactic tale, dear ones, because I think it's time to really I don't know. It's not a confessional, but it's just a synopsis, really. And it's wise, and it does really talk to all of this, including my buddy. So I've always been totally full on love with Jesus, and then I met Shiva, and holy crap, that got really serious really fast. So that's just how I am, and I've always been like that. And he's always been there, and he's always been somebody whose words and thoughts and ideas have steadied me and soothed me and counseled me. So it's kind of nice. Isn't that nice to have a friend, even someone from a book? Well, he wasn't like that for me. He came and visited me. He's real. He's physical, dudes. And he comes and talks to people just like Yogananda does. Just like lots of people do. It's not impossible, That's the whole point of this story. Well, at least Jesus' story. At least the way that it's been reinterpreted. Thank goodness. Sorry there was this not sorry, but too bad there was this political and torturous and blood cult crap that kind of got wrapped up in it. But that's the age. It was a story about ascension. It was a story about bursting through. He was all beaten and bloody, and still he went boop. And the holographic shroud, you have to disprove that it's a holograph. Good luck with that. Now try explaining it. He went through the cloth. That's how you explain it. And there it is. It's just standing there going, yoo-hoo. When you're smart enough, you'll figure it out. Right, you're next. Told you you're going to be doing things bigger than me. And that's what he told me when I was a kid, when he came. You're not going to be me. Get that through your noggin. You are not me. But you're going to be like me. And I thought, well, that's nice, because you're badass, and you're really super smart, and you're really super nice. So I can live with that. All right. And he came and visited me, but he's always been around. Well, how do you explain that? How do you explain my abduction? How do you explain all the other weird things that have happened to me through time and space? Memory lapses. My God. I have a very weird life. I always have. Synchronous and weird. Well, it's a galactic tale because I met the teachers finally. It was finally time. I was groomed. I'd had 6 years with someone who explained about multidimensionality and explained about meditation. I was well versed in meditation by that time, and dissociative, so it was easier for me to go, and I did explore a lot, but not as far as I could go with teachers. And the point to the teacher story, I think, is that it was an insert to assist at this time, because the whole point of the endeavor was to explain what was going to happen when things began to shift. I mean, that's why they came. That was their whole message. It was like, I ate that up like ice cream. It was like, what? Things are going to change? Well, sign me up for that. And, I mean, they were talking my language. They explained what was going on with the abduction. They explained who it was who visited me when I was in overalls and a kid and I saw a spaceship. What's been going on this whole time? And it was quite a relief, I'll tell you what. And I explained it for about 5 years. But through it all, it's becoming more and more plain to me what this really does mean. Because it's emerged with something that is ancient and not from around here. And it's working out pretty good. I mean, it's not like I'm not laying fallow anymore. It's phenomenal because the guidance is sterling and fun and funny, and it's over. It's over. The light quotient has changed the last 7 days. It's over. It's over. It's over. And in the car, I got it. You know, what Brian talked about, what really rang with me, and what I've known in my darkest moments when I have been so fatigued I didn't think I could take another breath because of the grief that I felt. That was the grief of the world. Believe it or not. Yes? Yes. And I've talked about seeing the earth and feeling the cries and knowing the pain, and they said you can stay up here and, you know, fiddle around, move things around, but it's all about free will, baby. Or you can be down there doing your thing and, you know, drying tears and giving hugs. And so the thing is that it's been dark for a long time. And so many of us hold and have held a lot of light in dark places. And you get used to it being dark. And I've talked about that for a while now. What happens when the lights come up? Who are you then? If you've been the light in a dark place and everyone around you has been acting out and hurting you and hurting themselves and hurting others, and it's all about harm and protection and all those things, and scanning the environment for risk and all the icky things that you have to do when things are hard and people are in misunderstanding and they're thinking bad thoughts about themselves and about you, and it's just all really hard. Or maybe they're thinking really, really good thoughts. But it's just beyond the beyond. It's just too much. Oh my goodness, that's happening so much. My storyline's crashing and things feeling weird and having no good darn explanation for any of it. Oh my, that's no fun at all. That's what makes it hard, thinking you're alone in it. And although I'm not there, I have been there time and time again, and these dips into this vast abyss is that of the dark that we have been struggling with understanding as part of our agreement field since this last little bit. But you think this little psychodrama is the only one in town? I want to pose that question. This is where it gets galactic, guys. So that's good. So we've got it nailed that, all right, let's not be mean to each other. Let's not assume harm. Let's assume positive intent, or at least neutrality. It's shocking what happens, and I'm telling you, it is ultimately destructive when the pole shifts. And that's where paranoia is, and that's where I was, and that's where it gets icky and weird and icky, blah, blah, blah. But the galactic part of it is that the teachers were explaining about a time that was to come when the energy was going to change, and it had to do with Jupiter, and it had to do with the moon, it had to do with celestial triggers, and it had to do with ascension. It had to do with dimensions. It had to do with choice. It had to do with intention. It had to do with becoming clear. It had to do with becoming honest. And holding yourself in as much integrity as you can. And I've failed in a lot of ways, I think, and I think I've really kind of beat myself up enough, because it was all part of a grand thing. And in misunderstanding, you do dumb things. You say to your benefactor, "Hey, fuck you! I think I deserve a feast." Well, you know what? If you hadn't spouted off, the next thing out of that person's mouth would have been, it dawns on me. You've been with me, and you've been so beautifully devotional, and I trust you, and you're part of me. And I haven't celebrated you like this. I think that we're all waiting to hear that from each other. And I think that instead of saying F you, I think that that's the point. I think the wait is over. I think that the light quotient has changed the last 7 days. And I think that there's some things that will just filter through. When I met the teachers, a lot of things became clear, and one was they just took one look at this passion I have for Jesus and all the questions I had about, did he really visit me, or am I just like a psycho? That's always a question I had. Am I a psycho? Am I insane? What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. You just can see a little bit, and they were just always fascinated. I could see so many levels at once. It's like, okay, well, keep up with me then. They always did. But they said that, yeah, of course I was part of that group, doy. And okay, so what? It's not the only game in town. And from there, everything bloomed. It was a story of ascension that is smack dab in our face. And we argue about it. We argue about the prophets that came before, not understanding it's the same ding-dang group. They come in and say, hey, guess what's going to happen? These really cool things, and there's all these signs, and these players, it's going to be awesome. And everything's going to change after that. And then after a while, guess what happens? They come back and say, oh, hey, yeah, I know you. Let's get this over with. And they do it. And then, in a little while, they come back again. Say, oh, hey, that one dude back there did that one thing. I think we should talk about that some more. And they do that some more. And then they come back and guard the books and teach it and change it and make it more clear and preach it. Okay? This is a lineage. It's just a task. It's a soul group. There's lots of them. But there's, then you get to the place where, okay, well, how many times are you going to split? And what's up there? Well, it's bigger. It gets bigger, and it gets bigger, and it never ends. Everybody has parents. Everybody has parents. It just goes all the way back to the beginning. And that's a long, long time. And in my mythology, and everybody that I know, who I listen to and know about this is galactic. I mean, that's what I was taught a long time ago. This is just simply evolution. Ascension is simply evolution, and it's what everyone signed up for. And so you got a bunch of people going, hey, damn it. Hey, damn it. I've been good. And now, this angry parent, oh no, some of those things about harm are true? No, what are we going to do? Well, that's where they're at. Ooh, that's bad. Ooh, it's harmful. It's really mean. And just twisty, isn't it? It's kind of slanty out there. And so it's gotten very, very, like, end of a cycle, unsustainable. Oh no, what are we going to do? What breaks that nightmare of not only being unseen, unloved, but actually actively harmed and stolen from, or being in the mindset where you think that's okay? And just the can't you see it? Just the fear and the anger and the I can, because I can, I'm going to, rather than how can I help you? Oh my. And it's going to become something that people become allergic to in their daily lives. Even they're gonna notice it and just realize that they can see it within themselves. I think that people are going to begin to realize that. And you know, that's a really, really hard thing to accept. And I guess I have to say that I can be a real a-hole sometimes. I can be a loudmouth dork, and I've softened a little bit, but yeah, I haven't been the most easy person to know or get to know. And I think it's partly because I just always had this edge and this anger and this resentment. And partly it's that. It's like I've been here this whole time, and you know, feeling this. The dark always coming to beat me up again. It doesn't matter how good I try. It doesn't matter how good I try. It always comes back and says, hey, you're a piece of shit, you know that? And it just starts again and starts again. And it's been so hard. Ugh. Because I took it serious. Who do you think was doing that? Well, you know, I don't have to take that kind of thing serious. I don't have to listen to that nonsense. But ooh, did I take it to heart, because I believed in harm and forgiveness, and redemption. But how about this? Here's Mama. Finally. Oh, you're home, son. Oh my. Have I heard some things about you? Were you able to manage to save anything, or are you coming here busted ass? Just let me know. I need to figure out my finances. Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's cool. I love you, kid. I missed you. Did you stay away because you were ashamed? Did you stay away because you were afraid I was going to be mad at you? I sure hope not. I hope not. You know, when the mask is revealed and we begin to realize that we really are each other's keepers, I think that, you know, that time is coming, and that's part of this shift. And this story of the prodigal son is one tale. There's so many profound spiritual truths on this planet. Beautiful, lyrical, poetic, and true and powerful. Wow, super powerful. There are so many ways to access divinity, because there's 7 billion people plugging into it, adding significance to it, adding their absence, their abdication, their request for removal of the shame, for forgiveness, for redemption, for understanding. And those kind of prayers, you know, they sort of cleanse the air. And I think that's what makes things holy, is realizing that there is no harm, and that you are cared for, And maybe you were being self-important, and maybe you were just misunderstanding, and maybe sometimes you got knocked around. And maybe that person right now wasn't always such a good guy. And maybe you're bitter about that. Or not quite understanding what to do now and how to feel, because things have gotten softer. And you've only known something that doesn't seem real and cannot last. This is just another... That's what's broken. The light quotient has changed the last 7 days. It's over. It's over. It's over. Is that the case? Well, I had good training. DNA and whales and UFOs and energy and mathematics and physics and energy and Alright, all the crap that I went blah and explained the last year and a half. It's not crap, but it's kind of esoteric and a little bit out there. And all about ascension, all about evolution of consciousness and shift. And here it is upon us in a really palpable way that had not been quite so realized. Maybe. But here's a galactic tale. I always thought that maybe I was as powerful as being able to one day have the potential, the potency of Archangel Michael. I loved everything about him, and but that hierarchy spoke to me, and the 144,000 and the purification of the lambs and all that stuff that always spoke to me. Not the end of time, the purity of the love for God and wanting to be there and nowhere else at His throne, enthralled in love, singing. And they are like cleansing the blood of the lamb and all kinds of stuff. And it's highly metaphoric and highly beautiful, and it would just take me away, because it's talking about things that are bigger than it's reminding us of what's going on here. And yeah, it's coded and all that stuff. And yeah, it's only one story. But it's one that we all know, or not all of us, but many of us. After I saw Alice Bailey, the Archangel thing, that just made sense. I was just home. Theosophy? Oh, come on. And that started so early. So I'm not saying this is an advertisement. All I'm saying is that in April of 12, things changed for me. I had a very massive experience, and I thought I was ascending at the moment. And then I heard, "Mommy," and I had to come out of it. But I felt this telescopic whoa was really big and beautiful. And I had a healing. It was really amazing. And then I had a moment in my car, April of 12. I will review it one time and put out a call for this book somewhere in the Denver metro, unless they moved. And I think it's the lady who drove a motorcycle, but I'm not sure, who works at the psych ward. Don't know. Someone who worked at the hospital I used to work at here in town, psych, recently has this book on their shelf. There's an inscription from me of a moment I had when I was having a smoke break. This was April of 12. And it was like this holy moment. Consider for a minute how many people, okay, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people know Jesus. Come on. And imagine him coming out of the womb. Holy moly. That's a lot to think about. Think of where those feet are going to be. Think of how many people are going to be thinking about him for a really super long time. Oh my. big event. And then I got all this dictation, and you must write this down. So I got a book out. There's nothing else to write on. So I wrote on the inside of the book, and there was a long thing. They had a lot to say, but there was one thing that stayed with me, and it was the son of Antares is born. And then I saw a quasar. It was so beautiful. It was beyond beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And then I was charged to go to the Google machine and look at quasar. And I looked at it and wept because I realized I was going to see a picture of it. Oh, isn't that sweet? I don't know what any of that means. And then in May of 12, this big huge light comes and I get all this information, and then I have 2 NDEs in the parking lot. Alrighty then, and I see my family, and oh my God, all this download information, la la la. And then it just continues. Okay, so it's a lot to manage on top of, I don't know, trying to make rent, right? Because it continued as I was working full time. I would take a nap while I was doing a shift, and a night shift, and I had an out-of-body experience, and I opened my eyes, and I was at my house, and I thought, oh, holy crap, I'm supposed to be at work. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I'm both places. Ooh, because I could smell my house, and it was really cool. It was really real. And so that happened. And so many other things happened, And then since April of this year, holy moly cannoli. And I had the good sense to turn on the camera. Thank you, Melissa, for the kickstart. So I don't know how to explain it. All I know is that there's a Jesus group. And because it's a holy and beautiful story. But it's no less the story of Shiva and Parvati making Ganesha, and then what Ganesha used to be called, and then Shiva doing what he did to the little baby, and then what happens to his body turning into the Ganesha. Well, you could sit and think about that for a millennia. Come on. And then the symbology of each of them, holy moly, there's a lot to consider there. But you gotta pay the bills, right? So, walking in 2 worlds. And I think that what we're going to be seeing is a lot more of this, I think, on YouTube, of people referring to themselves as this or that or the other thing coming from this galaxy or that. Sometimes during these, during one of them, I saw a Lyran. My face turned Lyran. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, if there's this son of Antares thing, and then it dawns on me today, okay, well, why did I talk so much about walk-ins, and why did I talk so much about near-death experiences and stuff? It's because it happened in April of 12. Doy. It was a walk-in. I had a 2-sun galaxy in my pelvis when this activation occurred, and there was this burst, and there was all this stuff, and I recorded it, and I don't know how much is left, and I've erased all the information. Woo! Catch a falling star. And so I don't know. You can explain it any way you want, but I do know that I have the ability to read Akashas and act like an asshole. So go figure. I don't know. I'm getting better at the asshole part, but I don't think that's gonna, I think I'll ask the eclipse to kind of wipe out the last of that nasty nonsense. It's like a bad off note of not wanting to be here, or I don't know, it's just a wrong note. And I'd want it struck from the record. So, do I anticipate nice things with the eclipse? Yeah. I can anticipate nice things because nice things are happening now, too. And you know what? It starts with not being harmed. There is harm in this world. Let's be real. There are people in profound misunderstanding who go out of their way to steal and hurt and take from one another. oh, that's no way to behave. And it's being seen. And it takes many forms. But it is a duality. The last year, I was given a gift of breaking this, of seeing it for what it is. After living how many lifetimes, you guys, as shamans and nuns and priests and healers, of housewives and sacrificial husbands and all the people who hold great light in great dark, just because it's a good thing to do and you're there and you grow where you're planted. Well, that's good. I say bravo. And I mean, there are many ways to get where we're going. And in the end, what matters, I think, is what I saw in Technicolor last year. Going from an environment and a mindset and a reality where there is vast potential harm that is imminent, that is due strictly because someone is off their nut. And it is always, there's potential harm always there. One must always be on guard because the harm is real and permanent and massive due to profound misunderstandings on either part. Wow. Dysfunction junction. And you know, I could be referring to, you can think that I'm referring to whatever you want. That's what I saw and lived through and felt battered by and shocked people I could take. What have you been through? What have you suffered through silently? What have you chosen to forgive and give light to and educate rather than run from? There's some things that it's appropriate to do that with, and other things where it's just impossible. So what do? You have to look yourself in the mirror and realize that that's partly being generated and allowed, and there's a way to unplug it. And it has to do with taking a higher tone, not putting up with certain things anymore, gently educating, and having a good sense of humor, and just not taking things personally, not expecting harm, not seeing harm. If I realize that I've been given the gift of productivity and industry and been given a leg up and had my way eased, well then, it's a bit ridiculous to pitch a fit when somebody gets a party thrown for them. Don't you think? You do that of your own free will. It's a story of free will. This is a planet of free will. It's a free will planet. Rule number 1, do not interfere. And you know, that's been a koan. There have been many, but this one I think really has been profoundly understood and needs to be given away. And to understand that, I think in the end this is the answer to the question I had as I was driving up Lookout Mountain. I think one of the questions was, you know, how is this going to how are people going to manage when they start having galactic memories or galactic dreams, or they begin to realize that something's bigger than afoot than just trumpety trump trump trump. When looking through the looking glass they go and they see that lies are real, and monsters might be real too, but they're safe somehow, and things are looking better, and things are looking up, because there is some things going on that weren't expected, that are really, really for everyone's favor. And it's kind of weird that things are as good as they are, but people are starting to make better decisions, and it's going to be weird, I think, how people are going to just really come to the place where they're going to see this in their own daily lives, and I think that's going to be reflected in local politics, and then finally national politics. I think it's maybe an organic thing. I don't know. But with the light quotient shift, and I really can see it in my own thinking, that's why I think wild cards, if you're always expecting getting fucked and things start going good, that's a wild card. If things look bleak and unsustainable and unfixable, something has to happen, doesn't it? Don't think Deus Ex Machina. Think it time capsules, think it expansion of consciousness, think it having different solutions, and no longer allowing such harm, and not wanting to expect it, having grown tired of that particular flavor of reality. So that's really all I want to say at this time. It's quite a lot, but I think it's important. I don't know why it's so important to talk about right now. But it does answer the question of what happens to the Roman Catholic Church and all the other churches when Jesus is supposed to be like the savior of who? Of the savage, of the jungle, and of the earth. Well, what happens if there's more than one planet that's involved here? What happens if you realize that your parents aren't from around here, or your consciousness isn't from around here? Something much, much bigger is going on around here. Or maybe you just get a hit of this unconditional love that just makes you realize, oh, nobody's been out to get me this whole time? Nobody has been screwing me over this whole time? Really? Really? Oh, holy crap. And things aren't as hard as they used to be? There's some relief? It's not the end of the world? Prove it. And there'll be some of that. Wobble, wobble. Wobble, wobble, wobble. Alright, that's all I have to say. I don't know. Am I a seer? Am I a lunatic? Well, I don't know. I guess that's for you to tell. But I think more it's for time to tell, don't you? Why don't you take a look at what I was saying a year ago in channel? Now I think a lot of it can be said consciously, and needs to, because I need to own this as a human being. I need to spread it as a human being. How are we going to get along with each other? Well, if I'm in constant fear of you harming me, it's going to be an uphill battle. I'm not going to trust you very much, officer. So stop killing us. How about? So, we have some deep problems, and they're very simply solved. And the solutions are coming. Happy shift, y'all. Namaste.